I want to continue in this 5-week series that I titled Caring, with my topic, Can We Make a Difference? The human heart longs to make a difference. We all want to know that when we pass on and go into eternity, that our life on the earth mattered, that we made a difference in the world around us. As the story goes, the young man left his house and he just felt like walking on the beach, so he took a trip to the beach. And to his surprise, thousands of starfish had been washed up by the ocean and washed up on the beach. And when he looked a little bit farther down the beach, he saw this old man walking along the beach and picking up a starfish in a very gentle way and tossing it into the ocean. He walked farther, and the old man picked up another starfish and tossed it in the ocean. And the young man said to him, he said, "Sir, why are you doing this? There's so many starfish, you're not going to be able to make a difference." And the old man bent down, took up another starfish, and gently threw it in the ocean. And he responded to the young guy, and he said, "It made a difference to that one." And most of the times when we see the world's problems, they're so complex, they're so big, they're so grand, that we tend to simply be paralyzed and not do anything. The British actor Paul Shakespeare said, "As one person, I cannot change the world, but I can change the world of one person." I wonder what would happen if each of us made that commitment. We just want to throw one starfish back in the ocean. We just want to help one person. And in changing that one person's world, together we would have changed the world. What we learn when we study the Bible is this: that God cannot be unkind. He cannot be unloving. He cannot be uncaring. He cannot be unmoved towards human suffering and pain. And if we're going to walk with God and serve Him, neither can we. See, compassion and care are foundational to the gospel. Jesus Christ came into the world to teach us how to love, to teach us how to live, to teach us how to express compassion. The question I ask is, what responsibility do we have towards caring for people beyond sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ? Is the salvation of my soul enough? Does God expect more of me? Are we given an option to turn away from the world's problems? Does God allow that? I want to take you to Matthew 25. We're going to camp out there today. And the setting is that Jesus, He's telling us what it would be like when He returns His second time to the earth. And He sets it up by saying, "I'm going to put on my left and my right the two kinds of people. On my right will be the righteous. On my left will be the unrighteous." And then He used names of animals to describe righteous and unrighteous. On my right, the righteous, they're the sheep. They do what I've called and asked of them. On my left are goats. They do whatever they want to do, whatever they deem is important. And I want you to see now, as we lean into here, how Jesus addresses those on His right, the sheep, the righteous. Verse 34 says, "Then the king," that's Jesus, "will say to those on his right, 'Come, you are blessed by my Father. Take your inheritance, the kingdom prepared for you since the creation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me.' Then the righteous will answer Him, 'Lord, when did we see you hungry and feed you, or thirsty and give you something to drink? When did we see you a stranger and invite you in, or needing clothes and clothe you?' When did we see you sick or in prison and go to visit you? The king will reply, truly I tell you, whatever you did for one of the least of these brothers and sisters of mine, you did for me. One thing that I've discovered in serving God is this, that He never wants me to become too comfortable thinking that I've arrived. And He never wants us to become too comfortable thinking that we're there. We have arrived, whether as a church or whether as individual. There are three questions I'm going to ask you to wrestle with today under the bigger question of, can we make a difference? These three questions are, is Jesus calling us to care more deeply? What stops us from caring? How does caring change you? You know something? As we wrestle with these questions, let me caution you. Quick answers never change you. Slow answers do. Take your time with the questions. Let them trouble you. Let them disrupt things inside of you. And what you'll find is that disruption will be holy and sacred. Something neat would develop inside of you that's beautiful. So let's begin with the first question. Is Jesus calling us to care more deeply? Matthew 25, verse 35 and 36, it's not a pop quiz to see what you believe. It's a mission statement to see how you will live, how you care. Let me repeat those words again. Our Lord said, "For I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me something to drink. I was a stranger, and you invited me in. I needed clothes, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you looked after me. I was in prison, and you came to visit me." Jesus is expressing to us that caring is not merely an idea. It's not a philosophical position. It's not a check-the-box answer to some moral question. Caring means to take action to meet the felt needs of the under-resourced, the victimized, those living at the margins. Jesus commended those who took action to meet food insecurity needs of others. You know, food insecurity, it's the lack of consistent access to nutritious food due to insufficient funds and resources. Jesus said, "I was hungry, and you gave me something to eat." According to Feeding America's annual Map the Meal Gap report, nearly 1 million people in New Jersey in 2024 are food insecure. This is a 22% increase from year 2023. And this number includes 260,000 children, or about 1 in 8 New Jersey children that experience food insecurity. And even in Essex County, where our Montclair campus is located, it is the highest county among the 21 counties in New Jersey where children suffer from food insecurity. It's where 21.4% of children in Essex County don't have consistent access to nutritious food because of economic reasons. Jesus, I believe He's calling us as we say, let's go through and build this care center and renovate this space and expand our care across the state of New Jersey, not only in a physical location, but in a virtual way and in partnerships that's strategic. I believe that He's calling us to let our care expand. Why? Because He's placing a calling on each of our lives to care more deeply. And that includes even welcoming strangers. The Bible says The Bible teaches the word stranger, it means not of one's family, a foreigner, and unheard of. Someone who's causing you surprise or wonder. Jesus said, I was a stranger, and you took me in. He thanked his followers for opening up their life to include them, to be welcoming. He identified with the stranger. I remember perhaps about 5 years or so ago, I was leaving. I just finished the sermon of one of the services, and I'm going into the pastoral suite to catch my breath, to get a drink of water. And there's this gentleman, he's walking towards me. He's walking towards me in a hasty way. And as he gets closer, you can see his eyes are filled with tears. And when he speaks, he has an accent. And you can tell he's from one of the South American countries. And he said, Pastor, he said, my family and I, we're undocumented immigrants, but Christ Church has been our home. And we want to get involved. We want to use our gifts and serve. But we've not gone through some of the formal stuff because we're very apprehensive about putting our names down on things. And we tried to get involved to serve, but those particular leaders, they didn't give us the access because of our lack of going through all the checkpoints. But I came to you because you also are an immigrant, and I know you'll be empathetic towards us. Now, for you who may not know, I came over to this country when I was 8 years old from Jamaica. And at this time when he asked me, I was in my 50s. And when I came to this country, I felt so like a fish out of water. Everything was big and grand. I'd never seen snow before, never seen so many people before, never flew on an airplane before. Everything was first. And I felt so overwhelmed, all these experiences and feelings and emotions. And I'm sitting there as this little kid feeling like, man, how am I going to function? And instantly when this man said, Pastor, I'm approaching you because you too are an immigrant, you'll understand. I didn't know what was going to happen. Instantly I broke down, I started weeping. Somehow his statement had brought me right back to where I was 8 years old again. And I felt so out of place. I was a stranger again. And I made sure that we got him involved and his family got involved because I was able to work through the red tape and make sure those red tapes was erased so that we can fulfill what Jesus says. I was a stranger and you welcomed me. And there's something about this calling to when he calls us to care more deeply. Something goes on inside of us that's disruptive. I didn't know I was going to be emotional. Forgive me. But sometimes we're just so business as usual. We read the text and we check the boxes. We say we believe it. But God's calling us as a community of believers to expand our care for the community. And we've identified some 15 to 20 programs that help embody and be a physical expression of Matthew 25, verse 35 and 36. Though Jesus identified 6 categories when he says hunger and thirst and sickness. There's 6 categories, but they're not representative of all the ways that we can care. Neither are these lists that I have in front of you. But let me try to shrink these lists a little bit to make it more palatable. And by the way, everything in green we're already doing and we're scaling now. Everything in blue represents new initiatives that require skilled partnerships with groups that are already doing it and they're gifted to do it. And we're saying, can we come alongside of you and can you come alongside of us so we can serve? But to simplify these programs that you see, think about them as gift boxes. 3 boxes that when you open them, they're gifts to the community. So we have community services. That includes legal clinic, financial literacy. These gifts empower people. We have family support services like Step It Up. This is where a lot of our support groups. Step It Up is where we help step parents and stepchildren to learn how to be effective in families that are blended now. Another support group is for female victims, of female survivors rather, of sexual violence. That third box, it's health and well-being services. And if I take it to another level so you can see it, because we believe that Jesus is calling us to care more deeply, that particular box, when you open up this health and well-being services, that's where you see Food for Hope. Our food pantry and thrift store and counseling center, vehicle assistance program. There are times people donate cars to our church because family may be they're well off, and so they said, look, we're going to get a new car. Instead of us turning in this other car to get money, we're just going to donate it to the church. Is there a family there that can benefit from it? And you should see when we get a mechanic in the church to donate their services, and the church buys the parts that the car may need, and then that mechanic repairs the car, and we give it to that family. You should see the faces light up. But I want you to see what, this is what it's about. And by the way, Food for Hope next weekend, and when we give out our Thanksgiving food drive, 80,000 pounds of food will be given out from Rockaway and Montclair campus. Yesterday, when we had the first meeting of the Warrior Within men's program, some 200 men were going through some training on manhood and masculinity. And afterwards, we said, guys, can you stay around for a little bit and help us pack up some of these boxes and for the Food for Hope? And look at these men as they're in that space, part of where the care center is going to be. And this is where I'm asking you to take a tour so you can understand and see. And by the way, several weeks ago, the state of New Jersey gave $1,025,000 to the Care Center of New Jersey for the Food for Hope program. They said, we want you to help take the next several months and scale the program. I want you to see that if the state is saying, hey, we got you, then you who are followers of Jesus need to be really saying, Pastor, we got you. We're going to get the care center and make this thing scaled to fulfill Jesus' words, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. Now, there are many other programs. I don't want to take all the time to talk about it, but suffice it to say, is Jesus calling us to care more deeply? And I believe He is. Let me go to my second question. What stops us from caring? It seems to be getting easier to stop caring. We must fight hard against this feeling of indifference and a lack of concern for the less fortunate. If we're not careful, we almost start to experience emotional numbness. It's almost the predominant cultural view of our day. And amazingly, some people sit idly by and they whip out their cell phone and they put on their video and they videotape their times. They videotape some injustice that they see, perhaps when they're going to work or when they're at the mall. And you would think that they're posting it in order to decry the injustice or to call attention to it, to remedy it. But that was not their motivation. They posted it so they can have an uptick in their social media following. What a moral crime. Matthew 25, verse 35 and 36, it's a clarion call to the church not to fall victim to moral and even spiritual indifference or emotional numbness. There are real barriers to caring. And if you're not careful, these barriers get in your way. It's almost like a roadblock. You got to guard against these roadblocks so that your heart doesn't become junked up with these barriers so you no longer care and you're just indifferent. And so the question is, what stops us from caring? Cynicism stops us. This sarcastic, jaded, cynical perspective grows in the human heart that lies unprotected. That's why we need to have a daily time with Jesus, inspecting our hearts so we don't become cynical. I remember I'd written one of my books, I've written some 30 books. One of my books, it's called The Skin You Live In. It deals with how do I build relationships across racial, cultural, and ethnic lines? How do I learn to live a multicultural lifestyle? And so I was being interviewed on this radio program, and after I gave a spiel, the host asked me questions about the book, and then he said, "Hey, Dr. Island, I'd like to bring in now the audience live and have them ask you questions." I said, "Fine, go for it." First caller comes on. The guy says, "Dr. Island, what's your agenda?" I said, "What do you mean, what's my agenda? I just want to teach people how to love people that are different than themselves. What do you mean, what's my agenda? Well, what am I trying to do that's wrong and that's jaded and some nefarious motivation? What do you mean?" He couldn't get past it, that there's no agenda that's hidden or some nefarious plot to somehow do something that's diabolical and wrong. And when our heart becomes junked up with indifference, the barriers to caring is cynicism. Another barrier is apathy. Apathy, it's a general lack of motivation, enthusiasm, or interest in helping alleviate the burdens of others. You're blind to those around you that are suffering. You are unmoved. You've become so callous. You don't even see those any longer. Among the Zulu people in South Africa, there's a term two strangers use when they meet each other, perhaps in the marketplace as they cross each other's path. They say to one another, "Sawubona," a Zulu word which means, "I see you." But this is more than just a mere greeting like, "Hi, hey, what's up, how are you doing?" It's more than that. It is a term that captures the fact that I see your worth and your dignity as a person. I see the whole of you. I see your experiences, your passion, your pain, your strength, your weaknesses. I see your future, your value to be. Sawubona. It means that I've not become apathetic towards you. I believe that's what Jesus meant when he says, "I was a stranger and you welcomed me. You were saying to me, 'Sawubona, I see you. You matter to me.'" I want something to happen in our hearts. I want God to tamper with our hearts in such a way that all the hardness, all the apathy, all the numbness of soul, all that junk that makes us so less than the kind of people that Jesus wants us to be, that you don't be like the world, that there must be some clear distinction that you've become a wholly devoted follower of Christ, that people know that you're a believer, people know that you love God, people know that you've been blood washed, people know that you've been converted, people know that you've been born again, they know that your sin has been broken, they know that Jesus has tampered with you, and you emote and you respond and you're supple in his hands, and you look at the Lord is a potter and you're the clay, and you allow him to mold you and shape you. You don't say, "That's how I am." You don't say, "That's how my parents are." You don't say, "Because I live on the East Coast." You don't let that become your barrier. You say, "Oh God, I need you to do something deep and transformative and real on the inside where I feel what you feel." Mother Teresa once said, "When a poor person dies of hunger, it does not happen because God did not take care of him or her. It has happened because neither you nor I wanted to give that person what he or she needed." I come back to the second question. What stops us from caring? Codependency stops us from caring. Codependency is the formation of imbalanced relationship. It's when your well-intentioned actions can enable someone else to not strive to improve their life. It's almost sometimes it's irresponsible to give money because that person may no longer work or work hard or make wise decisions in their money management. And some have stopped caring because our government has a tendency of improperly framing programs in a way that looks like a bailout culture. So it fosters codependency. That becomes a barrier to caring. Question, what stops us from caring? Compassion fatigue stops us. That term simply means I'm so emotionally exhausted from caring, I got nothing. I can't empathize. I can't listen. I can't care. I can't feel compassion. I'm tired. And compassion fatigue, it can become a barrier. And so the scripture, it cautions us to guard ourselves that we don't get to that place of barrenness and numbness of soul, that we are unable to live the Christ-like kind of life. Hebrews 13 verse 16 says, we will show mercy to the poor and not miss an opportunity to do acts of kindness for others. For these are the true sacrifices that delight God's heart. What do you do if you see yourself and feel like you're getting hardened? You're becoming callous. You're becoming indifferent. You know, as I walk with Jesus, one of the things I guard against is I don't want to be a professional speaker. I don't want to be someone that knows how to phrase and frame things in a way that seems so textbook perfect. I want to emote. I want to still have the flaws. I want to make sure that that when I blow it, I blow it. I want to be real. I want to be authentic. And one of the things that helps me to in other words, I want to care. You know what helps me? Is when I pray this prayer that I offer for you to pray. God, break my heart with the things that break yours. God, the things that get to you, let them get to me. God, the things that bothers you, let them bother me. God, the things that get you so fired up that injustice and unkindness and a lack of sharing of resources to the under-resourced and to those living on the margins. God, help me to be bothered by them. Help me not to pass by those whom I can help and I feel indifferent towards them. I feel that I am unmoved towards human suffering. God, don't let me get to the place where I become hard. It doesn't look like Jesus. It doesn't exemplify who Christ is. It doesn't witness to his transforming effect on me and on you and on us. We can't let that happen to us. We must make sure that our hearts are guarded against the feelings of not caring. I must trouble you with the third question. How does caring change you? See, caring does something amazing in the human heart. It draws us closer to God. Caring, it witnesses of the presence of Jesus Christ in your life. After experiencing salvation, and you come to live out the gospel. Nobody has to tell you. The Holy Spirit inside of you, the Holy Spirit allows you to grapple with the needs of the people around you. Let me reread to you the text. Matthew 25, verse 35. When I was hungry, you gave me something to eat. And when I was thirsty, you gave me something to drink. When I was a stranger, you welcomed me. And when I was naked, you gave me clothes to wear. When I was sick, you took care of me. And when I was in jail, you visited me. Then the ones who pleased the Lord will ask, when did we give you something to eat or drink? When did we welcome you as a stranger or give you clothes to wear or visit you while you were sick or in jail? The king will answer, whenever you did it for any of my people, no matter how unimportant they seemed, you did it for me. See, true religion requires consistent expression of compassion towards widows, orphans, and the poor. Caring is a spiritual laxative that purges the heart of hardness and indifference. I want you to see that in the world of care, there is what's referred to as caring in an ethical way. So I'm answering the question. The question is, how does caring change you? Answer, caring makes you grow more responsibly. You'll find that when you deal with the ethic of care or care ethics, I want to transport you now, I'm taking you to a graduate course on ethics. And when you deal with the issue of the ethic of care, it has 4 components to it. First, it starts off with caring about. When you care about, that's just a starting point to caring responsibly. To care about means that you see the person, their struggle. To care about means that you empathize with their pain, with their victimization, with their difficulties, with their suffering. Care about means you genuinely feel for the person and you want to see their life improved. But here's the challenge with just caring about. Caring about, it's just ideological. Caring about, it's just emotional. It's feel-good feelings, but you've not done anything to alleviate their suffering. No action has been taken. But if you want to grow responsibly in care, you move from caring about to care for. Care for communicates action to show justice, to show advocacy, to show support, to show the alleviation of someone's pain, someone's discomfort. To care about requires then you walking out the gospel in a practical way. You can't say when someone says, I'm hungry, you say, I'll pray for you, brother. You're in my prayers, ma'am. I'll bring you before the Lord in my devotional time tomorrow. Jesus said, I was hungry and you gave me something to eat. That's to care for. Now, when you deal with growing responsibly in care, it moves not only from care about to care for, it moves to caregiving. Caregiving requires competence. It requires proficiency. It requires training. It is not simply a kind gesture or a spontaneous action of care. It's about a well-planned action that displays that you took time to understand all the nuances and particularities around the competency that's needed in order to express care. See, when you deal with it, sometimes it's taking a course, it's reading a book, it's going through a training program. It's all those kinds of things. You know, with our Food for Hope, our individuals involved in preparing some of the food, they had to go through a food preparation program. What do you wear? How do you wear? How is your hair? What are the garments? And they had to pass this test in order for them to qualify. They can't just say, well, I like to feed the hungry. So it requires competency. The skill of caregiving is learned. It's developed. It's something that's thought through intentionally. There's training involved, and it takes time. Caregiving requires knowledge. Caregiving requires understanding. Caregiving requires genuine commitment to skill building. So when you think about care ethic and how do I grow responsibly in caring, well, you have care about, care for, caregiving, but then there's also care receiving. Care receiving is when I question those who are being cared for. Do you feel like you're being cared for adequately? How many married men are in the room? Wave at me. Married men, wave at me. Thank you. If I came to you and said, sir, are you a good husband? If you are a smart husband, you will say, please ask my wife. If you're the opposite, you'll blurt out an answer. Oh man, when you look up the word husband in the dictionary, you see my picture. I'm the guy. And I'm saying, no. And even if it's true that you're the epitome of an excellent husband, it's self-serving for you to say that someone else, your wife is the recipient of your practice as a husband. Care receiving is when you query the person who's receiving care. If I said to you, I'm the primary caregiver for my mother, and I cook all her meals. And you said, man, well, you're such a great guy. You're a great son. But I would say, well, why don't you ask my mother? And you say, does David cook your meals? And she said, yes. And then you're ready to walk away. She said, wait a minute. He puts the plate on the floor, and I feel like a dog. I don't feel good about myself when it's mealtime. See, this growing responsibly in care, it's not only you caring about and caring for and caregiving, it's care receiving, it's the assessment, it's the evaluation, so you can tweak, adjust, make changes so your care, together these four components is caring. That means there's going to be some training as this care center is built out that we need to understand human dignity. And how do people feel being the recipients of our care? How do they feel when we provide for them, whatever it may be? We can't omit that. So the question that I'm answering is that, how does caring change you? It causes you to grow more responsibly. Let me give you another answer. How does caring change you? Caring makes you more human. If you look at this statue in front of us, 4 bunnies are on this ledge, and a 5th little bunny is trying to get up. That's the statue. This is a bronze statue. This little boy, he's not been tampered with yet with apathy. No feelings of indifference, no numbness of soul. Everything within that little boy is so human, so expressive, so authentic, so sincere, without any prompting, no poking, no one saying, son, go ahead and help that little bunny. He runs over because he knows what it's like. He wants to see that bunny join his friends, and he tries to hoist up the bunny. As you start to grow in caring, you'll become more human. You'll become someone that's more godly. You'll become more Christ-like. You'll become more authentic. Your social skills will grow. People will want to be around you more. Why? Because of the work that went on inside. Can we make a difference? Absolutely. The famed South African Archbishop Desmond Tutu said, our humanity is revealed in the way we treat others, especially those who cannot give anything back. I pray that we would say yes to the fact that Jesus is calling us to care more deeply. I pray we would move the barriers that stop us from caring. I pray we will allow caring to change us. Why? So we can make a difference.